world's favorite game. We're back with another episode. Yeah, you know, we got all of the biggest names, all the biggest brands. That's how we do it. Talking about the biggest headlines in football, specifically world football, you know, not any one country in particular. We've got Arsenal winning the Community Shield. Shout out to the Gunners. We've got USA being knocked out in the Women's World Cup. Shock, horror. Inter Miami making new signings. And a little roundup of all of the transfers and the transfer gossip, the transfer news, you know, all that good stuff. Firstly, I must say that I've had a bit of a drink today. It's the first time that I've had a drink all year, so you can forgive me for that. And it was Arsenal in a cup final against Manchester City. So yeah, I think you can have a beer for the cup final, really, can't you? So forgive me if I'm coming across as a bit lethargic today, but that will be the reason why. But yeah, let's get on with the show, man. Let's get on with the show. Like I said, we've got all of the biggest brands. Let's go through some of them. We've got ESPN, we've got BBC, we've got one or two that you might not expect as well. You know, TNT Sports is in there. Sometimes I click on Eurosport and TNT Sport pops up, but you know, it's okay. It looks like there's some mergers and acquisitions happening there, something like that, some business stuff going on. One or two names that you might not expect, like Forbes and Financial Times. I know, right? What are we doing with articles from Forbes and Financial Times? Well, you know, it's maybe it's a bit more than football that you get here on world's favorite game. And also an interesting one from Reuters. I never did know how to say that properly. Is it Reuters or Reuters? It looks like a Dutch German kind of name, Reuters. Anyway, we got something from them. Huge media outlet. So yeah, without further ado, let's go. Hey, you know what? We've also got something from myself. I actually wrote an article which we could discuss, but I'm not so sure if we are going to discuss that or not. I might just put that in the show notes so you guys can read it if you fancy. But let's get on with the show. Ladies first, right? Over to the World Cup, the Women's World Cup in 2023, of course. And guess what happens? The cup holders, the current world champions, got knocked out. We're in the knockout stage. It's the round of 16, and the current world champions got knocked out of the tournament. It's a bit of a drama here. Got an article from the BBC where they're saying it's a catastrophe. That's literally the word that they used in the title. I'm not glorifying this. I'm not, you know, exaggerating this and making it look worse than it is. They've used the word catastrophe, but they've also gone on to say why exit of holders USA was a predictable catastrophe. And if you read this article, you get the sense that they felt like this was an accident waiting to happen. So yeah, all is not well in the Women's World Cup for the USA. Things aren't going too well in their camp. They got dumped out by Sweden. You know, to be fair, I was watching this game earlier this morning, right? And I actually thought it was a decent game. There was a couple of bits of quality. Went to penalties. You know, Sweden won a penalty shootout. You never know what's going to happen when it goes to a penalty shootout, right? So yeah, I mean, I think Sweden are good value for it. You know, they beat the world champions. You know, they won the game. They go through. Maybe you might feel something different. You might feel like America were robbed and they should have gone through. But that's football. That is football. Shout out to the Swedes anyway. They went through. Ulrika Johnson and them lot there. You know what I mean? Swiftly moving on. Looking at the fixtures, right? Tomorrow we've got England versus Nigeria. Now I would love to watch that match, but again, this Women's World Cup is happening at the most awkward time for me because that's the time when I'm supposed to be at work, so I can't really watch these matches, unfortunately. But shout out to the Lionesses. It's like I say, it's the round of 16. They're gonna need a dub here, otherwise they're out of the tournament. So come on, you Lionesses, let's get that win. Someone who did get that win is Arsenal Football Club. the mighty Gunners themselves. Now, I know I said I wasn't going to talk about Premier League, English football and all that, but look, the league season is almost upon us. The English Football League season is upon us. I actually was watching Cardiff versus Leeds earlier. I was actually supporting Cardiff in that match because ex-Arsenal player Aaron Ramsey's playing for Cardiff. It's funny enough, we talk about the Saudi revolution on this podcast, don't we? And Aaron actually recently said that he turned down a move to Saudi Arabia so that he could go back to Cardiff because, he's Welsh. And they were winning 2-0. I was supporting Cardiff. I was well happy. And then Leeds came back to draw the game 2-2. So, and that's officially the start of the English Football League. So all of the Championship, League 1 and League 2 teams have started their league now. And the Premier League kickoff is not that far away. As we all know, us fans of English football, we know the Charity Shield is the game that happens just before the Premier League kicks off. And it's usually the winner of the FA Cup versus the winner of the Premier League. And with Manchester City winning those titles, it kind of goes down to whoever else was available second in the Premier League. That's going to be Arsenal. So, Arsenal versus City. Good game. Lots of good play. Lots and lots of good play. Obviously, being a final, it was a bit tight. Now, some people would say Manchester City, they weren't as well prepared as Arsenal were, right? Because I think Manchester City's pre-season didn't start until the 23rd. Let me get my facts straight and double check that, right? Their pre-season started, on the 23rd. I did get that right. That was in a J-League World Challenge. Sounds like they went over to Japan to play F Marinos, and they won that one 5-3. So their pre-season started on the 23rd, and then they played 3 matches, right? F Marinos, Bayern Munich, and Atletico. So they come to the Charity Shield with 3 matches under the belt, having started on the 23rd. But Arsenal, we started our pre-season a bit earlier, right? We started our first pre-season game on the 13th. So that's kind of like 2 weeks. We had 2 weeks more of pre-season than Man City did. They were on the beach, they were on holiday, they were relaxing, or maybe they were running and they were doing their sort of training camp while we were actually playing matches and building up match sharpness, And so Arsenal on the 13th of July, we played Nuremberg, and then we went to the MLS All-Star matches, which we talked about over here. And then we played Manchester United, and then Barcelona, and then Monaco, and here we are now in the Community Shield. So Arsenal has been playing for almost a month now, since the 13th of July to the 6th of August. So you'd expect the Arsenal team to be pretty sharp, but the Man City team maybe not as sharp. That's the point of it, really. So yeah, I guess you could say maybe Arsenal will have some sort of an advantage there. But anyway, it's a title, right? It's the Community Shield. Both teams are going to want to win it. Manchester City have a whole lot of quality on display. I can imagine some critics would also say, well, City have sold a lot of players. They've lost Mahrez. There's a lot of transfer speculation about other players that might go. Gundogan's gone. So is it really the best version of City? Well, I mean, all of their strong players that are still at the club were there. It's not like they had loads of injuries. The team lineup was absolutely incredible, and it was 2 good teams heading up against each other, and a fantastic game of football. If you ask me, my opinion, Arsenal just got the better of them, really. I mean, yeah, I know I'm an Arsenal fan. I'm a bit biased, so it's difficult to talk about this at length, really, because I'm gonna come. Probably the longer I talk about it, the more biased I'm gonna seem, right? But okay, let's try and be balanced. Arsenal were losing the game 1-0. Although there was some good chances. Kai Havertz had a really good chance in the first half. I thought he was going to score that, and there were more chances in the second half, but we didn't get anything in, right? But like I say, City put a strong team out there. They had Walker, Stones, Diaz, Akanji, Rodri, Kovacic, Bernardo, Grealish, Alvarez, and Haaland. Yeah, and then they had players on the bench like Foden, Palmer, and De Bruyne. Palmer actually came off the bench and scored the goal. It was a fantastic goal that he scored as well on his left foot, just inside the box, whipping it around the keeper. It was a beautiful goal. It was kind of like, well, you've lost Mahrez, but now you can just play Palmer on the right. Maybe Palmer's actually finally come of age and can now actually replace Riyad Mahrez. Maybe that's one reason why they won't be going into the market to replace him. You know, we'll see. And I've got this article from TNT Sports where they cover the match. It's really, 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 really good. You guys will probably enjoy reading that. That'll be in the show notes. They've got player ratings in, and if you look at their player ratings, they've kind of rated the City players higher than they've rated the Arsenal players. So make of that what you will. That kind of tells its own story, doesn't it? Ortega, the goalkeeper, he's got an 8. Stones has got an 8. Rodri's got an 8. Kovacic has got an 8. But Haaland, 5. Yeah. So if you remember, he wasn't in the greatest form towards the end of last season. He went on a bit of a goal drought. Maybe teams started to work him out a little bit. Arsenal had Saliba doing a man-marking job on Haaland, and Saliba's rating 9. Yeah. Ben White put up an 8. Timber put up an 8, and pretty much everyone else that I haven't mentioned was like 7s, or you know, the odd 6 here or there. And Trossard came off the bench and got the goal for Arsenal. It was a little bit jammy, right? There's a little bit of fortune there, but to be fair, I like that phrase, you make your own luck, because what he did was he was just being very positive, running at City's defence, beat a player, smashed it at the goalkeeper, but it was one of those things where he was aiming for like the far corner, and then the defender kind of deflected it, and it went to, like, you know, wrong-footed the keeper. The keeper went to save it where the ball looked like it was going, and then it got deflected and it went kind of right down the middle, really, and the keeper just kind of dived out of the way because he thought it was going to the corner, to the far corner. But you take those, man. You take those. He earned it. It was a really good effort, good goal. Trossard has been playing absolutely incredibly for Arsenal since he signed, and his form seems to be continuing. So I'm hoping he can somehow force his way into the first team. Everybody loves seeing Trossard when he plays, but Arsenal's team's so good. It's like, who do you drop? Who do you drop for Trossard? You can't drop anybody because everyone's playing good. The team finished second in the league. So, yeah, that's about the size of it. But, you know, we went to penalties. It was a great penalty shootout. It was a bit of a nervy occasion. Ramsdale, shout out to Goatsdale. Yeah, we're talking about the GOAT here. The hero, the penalty kick hero, saved the penalty. To be fair, Rodri didn't exactly take the perfect penalty. He didn't like smash it with an incredible amount of power or place it into the corner where it was difficult for the goalkeeper. He kind of scuffed it and it went middle centre-ish. Like, kind of scuffed it to the keeper's right, and Ramsdale read where he was going, made the save. You know, he made the save. To be fair, it could have been one of those things where the keeper thought he was going to the other side of the goal and he dived in the opposite direction, but he didn't. He read it and he guessed correctly which way that the player was going to go and made the save. So shout out to Ramsdale. Arsenal players did their job to put the ball in the back of the net, and it was Fabio Vieira who took the last kick, the pressure kick. Before that, Kevin De Bruyne had to take his penalty as well, didn't he? And he missed it. He absolutely smashed it against the bar. I wanted to say the frame of the goal, but bar sounds more accurate, doesn't it? Because like for the listeners then that didn't see the game, you know, you're gonna try and get your mental model going on based on what I say, right? So let's say he smashed it against the bar, right? Ramsdale didn't have a chance. He was diving in the opposite direction. He didn't read this one, and it's one of those things where Kevin De Bruyne is such a cool head on him, such a quality player. You just expect him to score those. You're just thinking, KDB, yeah, he's scoring that. But he didn't. And maybe going back to this argument about the preseason preparation, would KDB score that a few weeks from now? If he had to take a penalty when he was a bit more sharp, when he's played more football, would he miss? Probably not. So, maybe there's something in that debate there. But at the end of the day, Arsenal won the trophy, man. Arsenal are the Community Shield champions. It's a great way to start off the season. Me being an Arsenal fan, I'm super stoked. I've talked about this at length. I probably should move on, but you know what it is. I'm an Arsenal fan. I'm absolutely milking this. It's the first trophy, and hopefully it's the start of many. We got to see all of the quality new signings in the team. Unfortunately, Gabriel Jesus was injured, but that gave way for Kai Havertz to play as a striker. Now, I've actually been having some debates with people on social media about this, right? And honestly, a lot of people think they want to see Kai Havertz return to the way that he was when he was at Leverkusen, because that's our idea of his best form, right? The boy from Leverkusen that was absolutely smashing it, playing as an attacking midfielder, and that's the boy that Chelsea signed. But when Chelsea signed him, he didn't rediscover that same form that he had at Leverkusen, right? So everyone was thinking they weren't using him properly. Arsenal signed him, and it's like, yeah, we want to see the boy from Leverkusen again, play him in midfield. Now, he's played in midfield in pre-season, and to be honest with you, I don't think he's been that great there. And I think replacing Granit Xhaka is a really big deal. I don't think Kai Havertz is best placed to do that. Maybe he can do a job. Maybe against the lesser sides, okay, that could work. But I don't think he's got the same qualities. I don't think he's got the same tools in his toolbox that Granit Xhaka had. Granit Xhaka had a different set of tools for that job, tools that were perfect for that job. And I think Kai Havertz is probably better suited to playing up top as a big target man, number 9, battle with the defenders, hold the ball up, bring other players into the game. When you get a chance, take your chances. If we want to swing the ball into him, he can win the headers. And he's got a bit of tech and he can play. Do you know what I mean? Because the thing that I've realised is that he's grown. When he was at Leverkusen, he was a young lad, but he was still growing, wasn't he? Because he was a young, and you know what youngers do, they grow. That's what they do, right? And he's now 6'4". So I haven't done my research on this yet. So maybe somebody could prove this theory wrong. But I'm thinking, how many 6'4" centre midfielders are there in the top European leagues? Like how many? Hey, let's extend that a little bit, right? Let's not just talk about European leagues, because this is the world's favourite game. We talk about world football, right? So in all of the leagues that people watch, that people know, how many top quality centre midfielders are 6'4" and around that kind of height? Because I don't know how many there are. I know Rodri's quite a big lad. He might be 6'4". He's a big guy. But then he plays like a defensive midfield kind of role. And I'm more talking about someone who's playing next to Martin Odegaard in a more advanced kind of role. Like you've got Thomas Partey behind you as your anchor, and you're now doing more of a box-to-box kind of a midfield role. How many players are there in centre midfield of that kind of height, that kind of frame? I feel like that profile is screaming, I'm not very agile, I'm not very mobile. Don't get me wrong, there's always the odd alien here or there. There's always someone like Zlatan Ibrahimovic where he's big and he's tall and he's still as agile as a cat, like he's an absolute freak, wasn't he? But for the most part, I think the big and tall players aren't going to be that graceful on the ball. And for example, I was just talking about Trossard, wasn't I? So I think if you compare Trossard to Havertz, I think Trossard might be more better suited for being an attack-minded player in midfield, if that's what you want. Or Declan Rice might be better suited for being a more kind of solid, defensively solid, and just all-round better midfield player. Because, Declan, he's the man that can do it all. He's the £100 million man. Like, he can beat players. He's got an eye for a pass. He can tackle and stick his foot in and win the ball. He can do everything. He can shoot, he can score from midfield. And I think he is a perfect replacement for Xhaka to play that left centre mid kind of role, or as Arsenal fans have been calling it, the left eight role. So yeah, for me, Rice is perfect for it. Havertz is, maybe it's more like experimenting in pre-season from Arteta, because he just wants to see how does Havertz look in this role. Maybe he's figured things out for himself. Maybe Mikel thinks, yeah, it's not really the best having Havertz there in midfield like that. Maybe it's better to play him up top as a striker. Jesus was injured. Havertz was playing up top as a striker, and I think he had a good game. I think it was a good performance, and I would like to see him do that. Fans want to see Arsenal sign another striker. I've seen fans talking about Ivan Toney coming in, or a Vlahovic, someone like that. To be fair, most people are saying they want us to sign Ivan Toney, and I've been on the Play On podcast before and talked about how much I like Ivan Toney, and I would love to see Ivan Toney at Arsenal. Not gonna lie about that. But now that we've got Kai Havertz, I do think that he can do that job for us. And I know he didn't have the most prolific goal scoring season as a striker at Chelsea last season, but the way I see it is he's had one season playing as a striker under his belt, just one, and he's very much learning that role. And let's be honest, things haven't been great at Chelsea, so it hasn't been ideal. He hasn't been in the ideal learning environment. But at Arsenal, with a coach like Mikel Arteta and with all of these fantastic players around him, Saka, Martinelli, Odegaard, I think Havertz as a number 9, I think that works. And I think now with Jesus out injured, that is going to give Havertz the perfect opportunity to show us all what he can do as a striker, and I think he will be successful. I'm quite hopeful that we're going to see Havertz be a successful striking option for Arsenal. And and maybe we won't need to go back into the market. Maybe we won't need to go for Ivan Toney, although if the money's there, I still feel like we should get Ivan Toney, because I think he would be a fantastic addition to the squad. It's looking like Balogun's on his way out, so you could be a Balogun out and use that money to buy Toney kind of situation. I'd still love to see Arsenal go for maybe someone who can rotate with Saka on right wing, although again I think Havertz could potentially do that. Against a lesser side, you could probably play Havertz on the right wing. He could cut inside on his left and smash it at the keeper. It could be dangerous. That could work. We've also got, the likes of Reece Nelson who can play on the right wing. So yeah. I mean, I'm talking about Arsenal a bit too much now, aren't I? But it's the club that I love, so you'll have to forgive me for that. Timber had a fantastic performance. He's been good in the pre-season, and he looks like he's going to be someone that can play right across the back line for Arsenal. Played at left back and made a load of solid tackles. Guys just mustard, man. Came up with that total football at Ajax and had a good World Cup for Holland. I put him in my team of the best young players at the World Cup, and now he pops up at Arsenal. I'm well chuffed about that. But I would love to see if Arsenal can go for Kudus. That would be fantastic. But there's actually some news. We can talk about Kudus a bit later. What else? So we talked about Rice. Rice had a good performance as well. So Rice, Timber, Havertz, all the new signings have looked good against Manchester City. We've won a trophy. It's an ideal start to the season for Arsenal fans. We can all get excited. Fabio Vieira scored the winning penalty, the one that won the trophy for us. That's going to do wonders for his confidence. If you saw the pen as well, it was a confident penalty. The keeper guessed the right way, but he smashed it with so much venom into the top bins. Keeper couldn't get there. So, hopefully we're going to see a more confident Fabio Vieira playing for us this season. And it's all positive, man. It's all positive. Going into the season with a win, who knows what can happen next. This could be the first trophy of many. Up the Gunners. Well, from the Charity Shield over to the MLS. Now, this is quite a fun story that we can talk about here, right? So, as you guys know, I've been watching MLS and I've been supporting Inter Miami over there, right? Leo Messi signed. It's been absolutely fantastic. Now, the thing is, I forgot to talk about the celebration that he did, right? So if you're a Messi fan, or if you've just seen Messi play before and score and celebrate, you might remember the goal celebration he usually does, where he puts his hands to the sky and it kind of looks like a religious kind of looking up to the God in the clouds above, and like, thank you God, and dedicating this goal he's just scored to the creator, right? Fantastic celebration. We like to see that kind of thing. But when he played for Miami recently, he popped up with a new goal celebration. So this was against Atlanta United, all right? And there was all kinds of speculation. He scored a goal, and when he celebrated the goal, he did like a motion towards the camera. Now, I heard one theory that David Beckham was standing next to or standing opposite him. So I heard one theory that it was a gesture towards David Beckham, what he was doing. There was another theory that what he was doing was, because what he was doing was he was holding his hand out. And so there was one theory that it was like, it was a banter celebration, like, hold my beer. Do you know what I mean? Like, I've just scored, hold my beer, I'm playing well. I'm going back to score another one, or something like that. I don't know. Doesn't really make much sense, but that's what some people thought it was. The Beckham idea was, okay, it could be like, I'm putting my arm out to hold a trophy. Like, Beckham, I'm grabbing the trophy, we're going to win something. Okay, so that was another theory. But I found this article by 90 Minutes, right? Yeah, okay, not the most reputable source, but they're talking football over there. It's all right. So what they're saying here is, before smiling and walking back to the centre circle, Messi celebrated by standing motionless, holding his arm out for a moment with an open hand and looking directly into one of the cameras. So people were speculating about it, but it appears Messi's wife, Antonella Rocuzzo, has confirmed its intentions. And why is her name Rocuzzo? Isn't her last name supposed to be Messi or something? What's going on there? But anyway, so she actually posted on Instagram and she put a picture on her story with a Thor sticker. So that implies that the celebration was dedicated to Messi's son Thiago, who is an enormous fan of the Marvel character. So totally different to something for Beckham, or hold my beer, or I'm going to win a trophy, or whatever it is. It seems like it's just a goal celebration dedicated to his child, because his child loves Marvel and his child loves Thor. So, like the Thor thing he does when he sticks his arm out and he's like, to me, my hammer, and the hammer just kind of flies into his hand. He was doing that. So that's kind of cool, isn't it? That's a cool goal celebration from Leo Messi, dedicating something to his child, which is something you love to see. Now, going on from the goal celebration against Atlanta, there was another goal celebration against Orlando. Now, I thought, okay, now that we've seen the sticking your hand out celebration, this is going to be the new Messi celebration in Miami that we're going to be seeing every week. It's going to be banging goals every week and doing the Thor celebration. So I was looking forward to seeing it again. But he did something else. And ESPN FC put out a little tweet where they said, Antonella, Messi's wife, confirmed that this celebration was a Black Panther reference. So he was doing, the arms crossed, the Black Panther celebration, which I think is kind of cool that, his kids love Marvel and he's now celebrating his goals and doing Marvel-inspired goal celebrations for his kids to enjoy. I think that's absolutely fantastic. I'm loving this little goal celebrations change up from Messi. It's keeping us guessing, because now you think, ooh, what's he going to do next? He knows what he's going to do next. But yeah, there's still lots of love coming Messi's way. The last match that Miami played was against Orlando, and Rick Ross popped down and there was a little interview of him. I've got a little clip of that interview where Rick Ross talks up Leo Messi and gives him a big welcome to Miami. I think that's great. One of the locals there giving Messi a shout out and saying that he's welcome. And I hope this continues. I hope there's going to be more celebrities coming down to see Leo Messi and people doing interviews. This is great. But yeah, on a quick recap, Inter Miami won 3-1 over Orlando City. 2 goals from Leo Messi, 1 from Joseph Martinez, and it was an assist from Martinez, I remember, for one of Messi's goals, which was a good assist. He just kind of dinked it up into the air and Messi volleyed it home. Like, they're really playing really well over there. I'm really excited about how Inter Miami's team is coming together. And this actually is a local derby. I looked it up the other day, right? And I even found a forum with some Miami fans. So I got chatting with some Miami fans and talking to them about rivals. And they were saying this is the closest team to them, right? I looked it up on Google Maps and everything. And actually, it's about 200 miles away. Orlando is about 200 miles away from Miami, but it's the closest team. So this is the closest thing they've got to a local derby. And Leo Messi put them to the sword, boy. A 3-1 win in the local derby against Orlando City. So, yeah. I've got an article here about that match. Some statistics in there. 63.8% possession. Just absolutely bonkers what's going on there. We can talk a bit more about match possession later. But yeah, that's a good performance, man. That's a really good performance. I'm liking the way that the team is shaping up. You know, you've got Messi on the right wing. You've got Busquets in centre midfield. And in this match, the new boy who signed for Inter Miami, Jordi Alba, made his debut. So that is obviously a fantastic signing. It's one that's been announced a long time ago, but he's only just made his debut in the last match against Orlando. And he signed a contract through to 2024, and there's an option to extend it, the option for the club to extend it to 2025. So Jordi Alba on the left of the fence with Busquets in midfield and Messi up front, and it's an old Barcelona trio. They've played so many games together. They must know each other's game inside out. Obviously Busquets and Alba are both Spanish internationals. This is a ridiculous lineup for the MLS to have those three in their team. The football that we're going to see, it's just going to be absolutely fantastic. I'm really excited about seeing them. He's 34 years old now, so they might get a good couple of years out of him. We'll see. I'm not so sure how, you know, like some people are just like naturally fit. They're like natural athletes and you feel like they could play till they're like 40 years old or something. I'm not so sure if he's going to be that kind of player, but we'll see, won't we? Like, he's got a 1-year deal with option to extend for another one. And I'm sure he's very welcome over there, man. He's going to bring some quality to Inter Miami, which is great. But he's not the only new signing. They've also signed another youngster, an Argentine defender called Thomas Aviles, right? So he's got a contract through to 2026 with options to extend to 2027 and 2028. And I feel like this is a really good business for the club, because clearly they're not just signing these experienced players on like short-term 1-year deals. They're also going for youth with plans to extend them, well, obviously if they do well, and look after the future. So this Aviles is only 19 years old, and he made his professional debut with Racing Club in Argentina, and he's made 20 total appearances since playing for them in 2022. And he's also played in the Copa Libertadores, which is kind of like the South American Champions League. So he must be promising. If he's playing in the Champions League in South America, he must be a promising player. And I'm excited. I'm just starting to really believe in the movement and what's happening in the club right now. It's super exciting. So I've got an article here from ESPN where they do a little bit of a wrap up on the new young players that Inter Miami have signed. because it's not just Aviles, right? So they have signed Aviles, but they've also signed Facundo Farias, who I talked about on the last episode, and Diego Gomez, who I haven't talked about yet. Now, this Diego Gomez, right? He's 20 years old, and he's going to play in midfield. I couldn't tell you anything about his game. I haven't seen him yet. But they're saying he's a Paraguay international. So you know what these South American types are like. They're usually got good technique, and they're really dogged and determined, and they run and run and run and run. So 20 years old, obviously he's the one that's going to have the legs, right? And then you play him next to Busquets, and Busquets is going to have the guile and, you know, the cool head on his shoulders, playing next to this young buck who's just going to be getting messy. He's going to be grimy. They're saying that he's got capacity to work as a box-to-box player, but maybe by nature he's more of an attack-minded midfielder. But he does have the physical capacity for that more expansive game. So, yeah, we'll have to see. We'll have to see how that one works out. Although it does look like, yeah, he's going to be attacking going forward and providing the legs so that Busquets can kind of sit back and look after things maybe, which I think is a great idea. You don't want to overextend Busquets, you know. You want him to kind of just keep things ticking over. I think that sounds like a good idea to me. This Facundo Farias, they're comparing him. I've seen comparisons. I don't think it's in this article here, but I've seen comparisons where they're saying that he's like a Tevez kind of player. If anybody remembers Tevez, he might be more well known for playing for Manchester United in the Premier League. He was a fantastic player. He was absolutely incredible. So it's a really good comparison. He's only 20 years old. If he does have that kind of potential to become a Tevez kind of player, then he's going to be brilliant. But I wonder if it's more just physically because of how he looks. One, because he's obviously Argentinian, and two, because apparently he's quite a stocky player. So straight away you would think, oh, Tevez, like he's an attacking player and he's stocky in his opportunity, and yeah, looks like Tevez. But I'm excited to see his game, right? Facundo Farias. And obviously the new player I just talked about, he's a centre-back. He's 19 years old. So if you look at the plan here, they've got a centre-back, a centre midfielder, and an attacking player. So apparently Farias can play on the right wing, or he can play in behind the striker as like a number 10. So they're saying, yeah, I mean, it's kind of similar positions to what Messi plays, but they could probably play together. And if you need to rest Messi, then, you know, this guy can be the Messi replacement. So it looks good to me, man. It looks good. It looks good that they've got young players with high potential in every area of the pitch: a defender, a midfielder, and a striker. So that is, for me, that is fantastic recruitment from Inter Miami. Like I say, I'm really impressed with what they're doing over there. There's another article here from MLS Soccer where they're doing a bit of a wrap up on the transfer window for Inter Miami. They're talking about Messi, Busquets, Alba, and those three young players that I've just mentioned. There's some details here about the MLS system. You know, we need to level up and get to know exactly how things work over there, because things do not work over there like how they do work in Europe. So you can read on this and get your knowledge about the salary cap and the designated players, the under 22 initiative, and all this kind of stuff. And there's links to get more information as well, so that's going to be in the show notes if anyone wants to read up on that. But we're going to go over to Forbes, where they've got an article here about Iniesta. Now, the thing about Iniesta is he's a legend, but he's aging a bit, isn't he? He's 39 years old now. So you'd think, how much longer has he got left? He's just left a club in Japan, but they've said here in this article, he has an agreement in principle to join his former teammates Leo Messi and Sergio Busquets at Inter Miami. So that was something that Forbes said in an article dated 20th of July. However, big however, I found this other article from, I have no idea what this publication is, but like I say, I'm looking for information from the other side of the world to me. So there might be publications that are good that I don't know about, so I'm trying them. This one called El Futbolero. I hope I pronounced that okay. And what they've said is Iniesta will not play at Inter Miami. Now, that's obviously disappointing to hear from Miami fans. But apparently, this deal isn't going to work out. And the reason is, what do you think the reason is? Because Iniesta has interesting offers from clubs in Saudi Arabia. And the soccer player wishes to retire in that country, earning $1 million salary. The Saudis are coming. The Saudis are crashing the deals. Can you imagine reuniting Busquets, Iniesta, Alba and Messi? That would have been insane. However, they might miss out on Iniesta, but apparently Luis Suarez is still in the works. Luis Suarez is still in the mix. So we'll see. They're saying here, this one looks like gossip, but they're saying the United States press has reported that Inter Miami will sign Suarez for the following MLS season. So we're currently in the middle of the 2023 season, and they're saying the Uruguay striker will leave Grêmio, that's the club he plays for in Brazil, and link up with Leo Messi in 2024. So that's positive news. That's saying next season Luis Suarez will be an Inter Miami player. I do like that. So onto the article that I published just earlier today. What I did was a quick bio on Gerardo Martino, because I didn't know a whole lot about the manager of Inter Miami. I thought, you know what, I'm looking at all of these players. I've seen a couple of games, but what's going on with the coach? So I wrote a little bio about him. Again, this is going to be in the show notes. If you guys want to go ahead and read this bio, you can go ahead and do that. I can tell you that this man is a really good appointment. He's done so much. He's managed national teams. He's managed Mexico. He's managed Paraguay. He was a former player, and he was a legendary player for his hometown club. He's got a number of accolades. He won the CONCACAF Gold Cup. He won an MLS Coach of the Year. He formerly managed a club in MLS. And he won the Supercopa de España, which is like almost like a charity shield kind of thing. Or, you know, like in Europe, they did European Super Cup, which is like the winner of the Champions League versus the winner of the Europa League. It's kind of like that in Spain, like the winner of the Cup versus the winner of the league. So yeah, kind of like winning the Charity Shield. So he managed Barcelona and he won the Supercopa de España. And yeah, he was named South American Coach of the Year when he was managing in South America. He's managed Argentina. Like his CV is certified. It's absolutely certified. They couldn't have hoped to get a better coach, in my opinion. And he plays good football, man. He uses the 4-3-3. If you've watched Inter Miami recently, you've noticed that Messi's been starting on the right-hand side. Messi on the right, Joseph Martinez through the middle, and Taylor on the left. You know, he likes the tiki-taka. He likes his teams to play out from the back. He's in favour of youth development. I've literally detailed a whole lot of stuff here in this article, so you guys can go ahead and read that. And there's also a little clip that you can watch where you can see an example of the kind of passing game that they're playing over there under Martino. Swiftly moving on, we've got a little bit of Saudi talk, right? So we know the Saudis aren't slowing down. They might be signing Iniesta to their league. And the Financial Times has written an interesting article here about their activities. They say that they've spent 430 million euros on their summer spending. 430 million euros. That's the net transfer spending by the Pro League teams. Now, there's a lot in this article, so I'm not going to read everything, but yeah, it's really interesting, man. It is really, 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 really interesting. Like, as you can see, all of these media outlets are taking an interest in what's going on in Saudi Arabia and following the progress. In this article, they tell us that Al Nassr has signed former Liverpool forward Sadio Mane from Bayern Munich for a reported 30 million euros. So, come on, man, that's absolutely incredible, isn't it? That's straight from Bayern Munich over to Saudi Arabia, signing a quality player. Sadio Mane. He's linking up with Ronaldo. I saw some highlights. I remember last time I spoke to you guys, I was saying how I'm looking for a way to watch the Saudi matches, right? Apparently, they're in discussion still with who's going to get the rights to show Saudi matches in the UK. Apparently, that's still up in the air. I've seen some reports that it's going to be on Sky Sports, but I don't think that's available yet. There is an app, though, an app called Shahib, and you can actually watch highlights on YouTube. So I found some highlights of Ronaldo's club, Al Nassr, and this was the game where Sadio Mane made his debut. Unfortunately, they don't have English commentary, so you'll have to listen to Saudi Arabian commentary, but they gave us a lengthy amount of highlights. It's like 20 minutes long, which is interesting. So yeah, so I've got a way to watch some highlights, which is good, on the Al Nassr YouTube channel. I can watch their matches, but there is looking like there's a subscription package which you can get. So maybe you can just get this subscription, and it's available to international users as well. So we don't have to be based in Saudi to be able to get a Shahid package and watch the football. And the times that the games are on seems quite reasonable for us. It's all like 7 p.m. and stuff like that. So yeah. When I get more info, when I get everything 100% sorted, I'll let you guys know. But it's looking like I'm going to be able to follow this Saudi league a bit better. And with Mane and Ronaldo in the same team, I mean, come on, man. It's going to be worth watching it. One interesting point I'd like to mention from this Financial Times article is, I'm not going to talk too much about it because I still haven't done my research into this kind of thing. But remember, I told you guys that there could be some controversy behind what's going on with Saudi, right? And they've said here that the vast outlay by Saudi clubs has led to accusations by human rights groups that the state's efforts to improve its league amounts to sports washing. So I'll leave you to think about what they're trying to say there. But there might be more than what meets the eye with what's happening here. A little bit of controversy behind it. But I'm just here for the football, man. I'm just here for the football. I'm excited to see what's happening over there. Remember, there's a lot of incredible names. There's a lot of really good players over there. I found a deal tracker. We've got ESPN here, who've been following the done deals to the Saudi League, and it's, Karim Benzema to Al Ittihad, Kante to Al Ittihad, Ruben Neves to Al Hilal, Koulibaly to Al Hilal, Mendy to Al Hilal. You got Steven Gerrard coaching Al Ettifaq. You got Brozovic from Inter to Al Nassr. You got Jota from Celtic to Al Ittihad. You got Firmino from Liverpool to Al Ahly. You got Sergei Milinkovic-Savic from Lazio to Al Hilal. Seko Fofana from Lens to Al Nassr. Alex Telles from Manchester United to Al Nassr. Jordan Henderson from Liverpool to Al Ettifaq. Riyad Mahrez from Manchester City to Al Ahly. Alan Saint-Maximin from Newcastle to Al Ahly. Fabinho from Liverpool to Al Ittihad, and Mane from Bayern Munich to Al Nassr. So this is a lot, man. This is a lot already. And the article goes on to say there's talks ongoing. Neymar from PSG to Al Hilal. These are in talks. These are talks that are ongoing. Yeah. Ziyech from Chelsea to Al Nassr. Bernardo Silva from Manchester City to Al Hilal. And Paul Pogba from Juventus to Al Ahly. So, yeah, man, they're not messing around. They're not messing around in Saudi. And I've got the article from Reuters that I was talking about, where they're expanding upon the public investment fund details, which I briefly mentioned last week, right? So they're saying that the public investment fund surpasses 2.23 trillion riyals. Now, we in the West, we may not understand what that means, right? So let's dig a little bit deeper. 2.23 trillion riyals equates to 594 billion US dollars. That's what they've got in the PIF, the Saudi Arabian Public Investment Fund. Now, the interesting thing about this PIF is it seems to be exactly what it says in the name, a public investment fund. You can buy shares of it. And the PIF said it generated a total shareholders return of 8% and established 25 companies in 2022. That's interesting, isn't it? You can invest in the PIF and they got an 8% return. That's very interesting. And this article goes on with a lot more details that you guys can read about. One thing I thought was interesting is the Crown Prince saying that there was a transfer of 4% of shares in Saudi Aramco worth 80 billion US dollars to the PIF, and a second transfer of 4% worth about the same amount, and this one goes to the PIF's subsidiary Sanabil Investments. So there seems to be a lot going on with this PIF. If you wanted to look into Saudi Aramco and all of these other companies, it might be something like an ETF, like an exchange traded fund, where there's like a basket of companies all within this one container, and then you just buy the container, and you know it promises to give you a good return on your investment. 8%, that's not bad, is it? That's not bad, is it? But then, like I say, the other article in the Financial Times is talking about human rights and stuff like that. So I don't know, I'm not doing financial advice, I'm just reading this article and saying it's interesting. So clearly a lot of money in Saudi and a lot of players going over there as well. And like I say, if you want to watch the highlights of the last Al Nassr match, you can watch that, where Sadio Mane made his debut and he's playing with Cristiano Ronaldo. And one of my favourite players is over there, Talisca, the Brazilian. So I'm going to be watching Al Nassr at any opportunity I can get, man. Talisca's a quality player. If you've never seen him play, he's worth a watch. He's one of those Brazilians that can do free kicks. He scores amazing free kicks. He's got good dribbling skills, as you'd expect from a Brazilian, man. He's a skillful player, and he's a quality left footer as well. His left foot is like a hammer, man. He slaps the ball. Last thing I want to talk about is just a little transfer roundup real quick. Got this article from TNT Sports. Again, you can get that in the notes. And what they've got here is like a transfer tracker. And they said Brighton have agreed a deal for Mohamed Kudus. And I'm just like, you've got to be kidding me. This is a guy who I outlined as one of the best young players in the World Cup, along with Jerian Timber. Timber's made his way over to Arsenal now. Kudus looking like he's making his way over to Brighton. I would have loved for Arsenal to sign this lad. I absolutely would have loved it. I would love it. Absolutely just love it. But to Brighton, I think Arsenal could potentially hijack that deal. I know it sounds horrible to say that, but it's the kind of thing that happens in football. Deals get hijacked. And this is one where, you know, we've got Saka playing on the right and we've been running him into the ground, and it's tricky to find somebody that good who could replace him, because he's a winger, but he's got such good defensive forward play, and he's so good defensively. You can literally play him at left back, and he can defend against the best attackers in the league and do well. Like, what other winger is out there that can do that? Who could replace him, and you don't feel like there's a dip in quality? You don't feel like you're missing Saka. There's not really many players that I know of that could do that, and I think Kudus is probably the only one, the only kind of like for like replacement. He's left-footed, he's young, he's got that kind of hunger and that desire to run and to work and grind. He's skillful. He's actually more skillful than Saka is. Like, he's a baller. If you give him the ball at his feet, like, he's a proper dribbler, man. He's sick. So there's so many parallels to their game, and I've described him as Saka from Amsterdam before. You know, if you stick him on the right wing, he'd be a great person to rotate with Bukayo. But I think Arsenal's broke at the moment. There's been a lot of deals that have been done already. You know, maybe there's no more money. Maybe somebody has to be sold first. Maybe the club just aren't interested in him. I don't know, man. I don't know. I feel like that's a missed opportunity there. Yeah, there's a few more stories in this thing, but I can't be bothered to go through all of them, to be honest with you. Arsenal just won the Champions Charity Shield, excuse me. I've had a bit to drink. I'm such a laid back and chilled out move. I'm literally slouching in my chair as I record this. This is the most chilled out and laid back recording. I've been talking for a lot longer than I anticipated. We've gone into extra time here on the podcast, so I'm definitely going to be wrapping this up now. But yeah, make sure you follow us, like and subscribe and all of that good stuff at BRB Pods on the socials. If you want to pick up on one of these talking points and continue the conversation, I would love to engage with you guys from all over the world. Shout out to all of you boys and girls and non-binary peoples. Anybody, if you show us love, we show you love back. That's how it is. I'm gonna catch you guys on the next episode. Look after yourselves and peace.